Rain came down in hard, slanted sheets, the kind that blurred the world into streaks of silver and gray. Armin kept one hand over his head and the other tightly gripping the folder that held his resume, certificates, and the carefully prepared notes he had spent half the night reviewing. The wind snapped at his borrowed suit jacket, threatening to pull it open like a taunt. Today of all days, it had to rain. He checked the time again, 8:42 a.m. His interview was at 9 o'clock. He could still make it, he told himself. If the buses weren't delayed. If he didn't slip on the steps. If the universe cooperated for once. But the universe, it seemed, had different plans. He weaved through the crowd of morning commuters, everyone hunched beneath umbrellas or newspapers or simply the weight of their own urgency. Armin's shoes were already soaked, squishing with each hurried step. The subway exit spilled him into the open, and cold rain slapped him in the face, fogging his glasses. He wiped them with the sleeve of his suit, immediately regretting it when the wet fabric streaked the lenses even worse. Great, he muttered. He knew this job could change everything. His mother had been working double shifts at a small clinic. His younger brother needed extra tuition support. Every bit of money mattered. Silvertech Industries was a dream, an entry-level analyst role, but with growth, stability, benefits, and the reputation of being one of the city's best employers. He had applied 6 times in the past 2 years. This was the first time he had even been shortlisted. He crossed the street, heart pounding, head already rehearsing what he would say if asked about his strengths or long-term goals. He imagined himself sitting across from the panel, calm, confident. He imagined calling his mother afterward, hearing the joy in her voice. But then a piercing cry cracked through the rain. Please, somebody stop him. My bag, stop him. Armin's head snapped toward the sound. A young woman stood frozen near the entrance of a small cafe, one hand stretched forward while the other clutched her shoulder where the strap of her torn handbag dangled loosely. A man in a black hoodie sprinted past her, clutching the bag he had ripped from her. People turned but didn't move. Some stepped back, others pretended not to notice. Armin didn't think. His body reacted before his mind could intervene. He lunged forward, blocking the thief's path just as the man tried to push through the cluster of pedestrians. The thief rammed into him, shoving him hard enough to knock him sideways, but Armin planted his feet and grabbed at the bag. They struggled, slipping on the wet pavement, rain soaking their clothes and stinging their faces. The thief was strong, desperate. Armin gritted his teeth. He wasn't a fighter, never had been, but something in him refused to let go. The thief jerked violently, and Armin fell to his knees. Pain shot up his leg, but he held onto the bag with both hands. The strap snapped, the thief skidded backward, and then, seeing he'd lost, he bolted into the crowd before anyone could react. Armin stayed crouched on the ground for a few breaths, chest heaving, fingers clenched around the soaked handbag. His suit jacket was covered in mud, and the folder with his documents lay face down in a puddle beside him. The young woman rushed over, rain mixing with the tears on her cheeks. Are you okay? She asked, her voice shaking. Armin stood slowly, wincing as he tested his weight on his leg. I'm fine, he said, even though he clearly wasn't. He handed her the bag. Here. She took it with trembling hands. Thank you. I can't believe you just jumped in like that. He gave a small shrug. You needed help. You could have gotten seriously hurt. Better me than you, he said, and then immediately realized how strange and dramatic that sounded. His face reddened slightly. I mean, I just did what anyone should have done. But they both knew that wasn't true. Dozens of eyes had watched. Only he had moved. She looked down at the muddy pavement, then at his suit. Her expression shifted, shock, relief, guilt all swirling together. Wait, your clothes. Oh no, the interview. You said something about an interview. Armin followed her gaze and felt a hollow ache spread through his stomach. His suit was ruined. His documents were wet and warped, the ink bleeding into mush. His tie had somehow wrapped half around his neck like a defeated flag. He checked his phone. 8:56 a.m. The Silvertech building was still 15 minutes away on foot. It's okay, he said, but his voice sounded small. The girl shook her head. It's not okay. You need to go, please, go now. Maybe they'll still see you. He forced a smile, though he felt like the ground had opened beneath him. I'll try. Wait, what's your name? She asked. Armin. She hesitated, then simply said, thank you, Armin. Truly. There was no time to stand there any longer. He turned and ran, the cold air biting into his lungs. The rain felt heavier now, as if mocking him. His leg throbbed with every step, and his mind spiraled into dread. Maybe he could explain what happened. Maybe they'd understand. Maybe. But by the time he stumbled through the revolving doors of the Silvertech lobby, soaked, scraped, and panting, the receptionist gave him a sympathetic look that told him everything before she even spoke. "I'm so sorry, sir. The panel has already left for a meeting. They won't be conducting any more interviews today." He opened his mouth, but no words came out. He simply nodded. He stepped back outside, the rain still pouring, and let it wash over him. The world felt heavier than before, but somewhere underneath the exhaustion and disappointment, a quiet voice whispered, "You did the right thing. It didn't feel like enough. Not today." But Armin walked on anyway, unaware that the consequence he faced was about to ripple into something far bigger than he could imagine. Armin sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the blank screen of his laptop. The apartment was silent except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the occasional patter of rain against the window. He had spent the last 2 days revising his resume, sending out applications, and replaying the scene over and over in his mind: the girl, the thief, the mud, the ruined suit. Every time he thought about it, a pang of frustration hit him. He had given up the opportunity of a lifetime for someone he barely knew, and now it felt like the universe had rewarded him with nothing but wet shoes and disappointment. He rubbed his face with his hands, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on his shoulders. His mother had called that morning, cheerful as always, asking about the interview. He had lied, saying he had been delayed and that it had gone okay. She believed him, but he could feel the guilt gnawing at him. How could he tell her he had missed the chance entirely? The truth would sound foolish, like a moral victory in the face of concrete loss, and she didn't need that. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling, wondering if he had made the wrong choice. Maybe he should have run straight to the interview and left the girl to fend for herself. Maybe being practical was better than being heroic. Maybe the right choice wasn't always the rewarding one. The sudden ring of his phone startled him. He fumbled to answer, almost dropping it. "Hello," he said, voice unsure. "Is this Armin Khan?" The voice was calm, steady, authoritative. "Yes. Speaking. This is Daniel Reeve, CEO of Silvertech Industries." Armin froze mid-breath, his heart pounding. Daniel Reeve, the CEO himself. Surely there had been a mistake. I'm sorry, sir," Armin stammered. My interview, something happened." "I know exactly what happened," the CEO interrupted gently. Armin blinked. "Excuse me." There was a pause, then a short laugh, warm and understanding. "You helped my daughter." Armin's chest tightened. "Your daughter?" "Yes. She told me everything. About the thief, about you getting hurt, about your suit, your documents. She said she would never forget what you did." Armin could barely form words. I didn't think anyone. You acted without thinking, with nothing to gain. And that is exactly the kind of person I want at Silvertech Industries, the CEO said. His voice had a subtle note of amusement now, almost teasing. It seems irony has a way of rewarding good deeds in unexpected ways. Armin leaned forward, clutching the edge of the table. Are you offering me the job?" His voice cracked, disbelief and hope mingling into one sharp edge. "Indeed," Daniel replied. "No more interviews necessary. You have shown the qualities we value most: integrity, courage, and the ability to act when it matters. That is more important to us than polished presentations or rehearsed answers." Armin felt a swell of relief, gratitude, and awe wash over him. He slumped back in his chair, trying to process the fact that the very moment he thought had destroyed his future had, in truth, secured it. "Sir, I don't know what to say," he murmured, voice choked. Thank you. Say nothing yet," the CEO said with a chuckle. "I just want to know when you can start. The position is yours, effective immediately if you are ready." Armin's mind raced. He imagined walking into the gleaming offices, sitting in the same room he had envisioned 2 days ago, but this time with the validation that he had done the right thing. I can start as soon as tomorrow," he managed. "Excellent," Daniel said. "We'll have HR contact you tonight with the details. And Armin, thank your daughter for me, will you?" Armin hesitated. I haven't even asked her name. She will introduce herself properly one day," the CEO said, and there was a warmth in his tone that made Armin's chest tighten. "For now, just know that she has changed your life as much as you have changed hers." Armin hung up the phone and sat in stunned silence for several moments. His hands trembled slightly as he set the phone down. He looked around his small apartment, noticing details he had ignored in the stress of the past days: the half-empty coffee mug, the stack of unopened letters, the faint light slipping through the curtains. It all seemed so mundane, so ordinary, yet his entire world had shifted in a single phone call. He replayed the events in his mind, the girl's frightened eyes, the thief darting away, the mud on his suit, the ruined resume. He had thought he had lost everything, but now he realized he had gained something far more significant, recognition not for what he could do on paper, but for who he was as a person. The rain had stopped outside, leaving the streets slick and glimmering under the late afternoon sun. Armin walked to the window, taking a deep breath of the cool, fresh air. A small smile tugged at his lips. Maybe doing the right thing didn't always mean immediate reward. Sometimes, it required patience, faith, and a willingness to risk personal loss. And sometimes, the universe, or, in this case, fate disguised as a CEO's daughter, noticed after all. He picked up his phone again, scrolling through the notifications, but not one could match the anticipation building inside him. He knew that tomorrow would bring a new beginning, a chance to step into a career he had worked toward his entire life, a chance to prove himself, and a reminder that kindness could never truly be wasted. As the sky cleared, a soft beam of sunlight hit the desk, illuminating the mess of papers and books he had left scattered. Armin realized that life had a strange way of teaching lessons. The very thing he thought had ruined his opportunity had paved the way for something greater. He could almost see it, the Silver Tech offices, the team waiting to welcome him, and perhaps, somewhere in the city, the girl whose life he had intersected, smiling quietly at the ripple of events he would never forget. Armin leaned back in his chair and let himself breathe, feeling lighter than he had in days. The storm outside mirrored the storm in his life, but now, it had passed, leaving clarity and a path forward. For the first time in what felt like forever, he believed in the idea that good deeds mattered, that courage could be rewarded, and that sometimes, just sometimes, life had a way of surprising you with the perfect ending you hadn't dared to imagine. The phone buzzed again, this time, an email notification from Silver Tech HR confirming the start date and onboarding schedule. Armin opened it, scanning the details, but his mind was elsewhere, still lingering on the gratitude, the irony, and the inexplicable serendipity that had brought him here. He allowed himself a laugh, small and incredulous. Tomorrow, he would start a new chapter. And today, he realized, the world had finally caught up to the choices he had made. The rain, the mud, the panic, the sacrifice, it had all been worth it. And somewhere, he knew, the girl's quiet bravery in facing the thief had intertwined with his own, creating a story neither of them could have anticipated. Armin sat there for a long while, letting the sunlight warm his face. The missed opportunity that had once felt like a crushing defeat now seemed like the first step toward something extraordinary. And in that moment, he understood that life had a strange, wonderful way of rewarding those who dared to do the right thing, even when no one was watching. He picked up his folder, now dry and slightly wrinkled, and smiled. Tomorrow, he would walk into Silver Tech as an employee, but today, he allowed himself to feel the quiet victory of integrity, the satisfaction of courage, and the undeniable thrill of knowing that sometimes, helping someone else could change your life forever.